We are in the year 1941. All of Germany's neighboring countries and much of the rest of Europe have been overrun by the Wehrmacht and are now under Nazi rule. However, there is a blank spot in the middle of Central Europe. A country that was to retain its independence until the very end and thus survive the Second World War largely unscathed, Switzerland. The Swiss declared their neutrality from the outset and wanted nothing to do with Hitler's war of aggression. However, other countries such as Belgium and Norway also declared their neutrality and were nevertheless conquered and drawn into the war. In fact, Hitler didn't really care about Switzerland's declaration of neutrality. From the outset, he was firmly planning to conquer the neighboring country and later developed precise plans for the conquest and assimilation of Switzerland under the guise of Operation Tannenbaum. And internally, he referred to Switzerland as a pimple on the face of Europe from the very beginning. But what did these secret plans for the conquest of Switzerland look like, and how did Switzerland manage to be spared until the end of the war? We look at all these questions in today's video. Outwardly, relations between Germany and Switzerland seemed relatively relaxed before the war. Switzerland declared its intention to maintain its permanent neutrality, and Hitler also repeatedly promised that Germany would respect Switzerland's neutrality in the event of a military conflict in Europe. A few years later, however, it turned out that these were all just political maneuvers to initially guarantee Switzerland's passivity. They wanted to take care of the main enemies on the continent first and then turn their attention to Switzerland. Hitler's contempt for the Swiss became particularly clear during a meeting with Mussolini in the year 1941. He described Switzerland as a wayward branch of the German people. It was a thorn in his side that different ethnic groups lived together peacefully in Switzerland, as this clearly contradicted his racial theory. And so he also raised the possibility of dividing up the Alpine Republic between Germany and Italy. He began to draw up various plans for the conquest of Switzerland on the day of France's capitulation. These were finally summarized on the 4th of October in the year 1940 under the heading Operation Tannenbaum. However, the Swiss did not trust Hitler either and began mobilizing and producing weapons from the start of the war to counter a German invasion. According to German planning, however, this was to be countered by a German-Italian army that surrounded Switzerland on all sides and was 350,000 to 500,000 strong. The Swiss army was to be lured out in the canton of Jura and then cut off from the rear as in the French campaign. At the same time, the Italians were to begin the invasion from the south. After all of Germany's victories, the Axis powers seemed to be overwhelmingly superior to the Swiss, and yet everything turned out differently. For unexplained reasons, Hitler never gave the order for the conquest. To this day, it is not clear why he never implemented the extensive invasion plans and instead turned his attention to other countries. There are only a few theories as to why this might have been the case. One is that a neutral Switzerland was much more valuable to Hitler than an occupied one. The German Reich was able to process around 75% of its gold transactions abroad via the Swiss banking system. The two countries also cooperated economically in other areas. Germany, which was otherwise economically cut off from the rest of the world, thus continued to have an arm abroad. Another reason, however, could have been the actual difficulty of conquering Switzerland. In the event of an invasion, the Swiss planned to leave the low-lying cities behind and engage the Germans in an endless battle in the Alps. It is difficult to say who would have won this battle in the end, but it would have tied up a lot of troops and would have been extremely costly. In addition, the strategic gain for Switzerland, which posed no threat due to its neutrality, would have been very small. Of course, it is possible that if the war had gone differently, Hitler would have reverted to the plans at a later date. Fortunately, the plans were completely shelved after D-Day.